This is 3 Minutes Inside Torah. In the beginning of this week's Parsha, God speaks to Moses. Moses was disturbed by the fact that his arrival in Egypt has up till now only caused further suffering to the Jewish people. God assures Moses that the time for fulfilling his promise to redeem the Jewish people has arrived. As an introduction, God says the following: I am God, indicated by the name Yud-He and Vav-He. I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as the name Kel Shakai, but by the name Yud-He and Vav-He, I did not make myself known to them. Rashi, the medieval commentator, explains that God made himself known to the patriarchs through this name, which indicates God's concealment in nature. But his truest nature, as indicated by the four-letter name Yud-He and Vav-He, God did not reveal to them. Why is it necessary for God to say all this? He is trying to assure Moses that the time for redemption is at hand. Why discuss the patriarchs? And why say the patriarchs were not privy to this revelation of God? They were, after all, the vehicle for bringing knowledge and awareness of God's will to the world. The Lubavitcher Rebbe explains that the redemption from Egypt was not simply a liberation from physical bondage. It was also, if not primarily, a spiritual redemption. The Jewish people were freed from Egypt in order to receive the Torah and serve God. The word Egypt, or Mitzrayim in Hebrew, is related to the word Mitzarim, or constrictions, and symbolize all our limitations and challenges. The reality is that I can never fully transcend my personal limitations, my Egypt, as it were, even if I manage to become perfectly righteous like the forefathers. Without divine intervention, total freedom from these constrictions remains out of reach. God must redeem me from myself, from my Egypt, from whatever constricts me. And it is the revelation of God's four-letter name that does this. The name which represents this transcendence itself is a conglomerate of the verb to be in the past, present, and future tenses. To venture a translation, it would be something like absolute being. This revelation frees our consciousness from the vicissitudes and ups and downs of life. This ultimate redemption is to see godliness equally in all things and at all times. Whether engaged in a holy or mundane activity, true liberation turns living into a seamless, undisturbed encounter with godliness. How could it be then that the forebears of the Jewish people, whose individual divine service reached perfection, were not redeemed in this way? The Rebbe explains that because this redemption, unleashed by this name of God, is of such a high magnitude, it can only be experienced by first going through terrible bondage. While the forefathers achieved spiritual heights, they could not experience this level of godly expanse because they had not endured intense constriction. And this was God's answer to Moses. The suffering of the Jews in Egypt does not mean I'm not taking them out, but rather that, like contractions during birth, it is the prerequisite for their redemption.